Hey, good morning, Matt. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are you? You actually are in a turtleneck, and I'm assuming it's really cold in your office.
That's what's funny. So it is beautiful here today. And my husband looked at me and said, "It's going to be warm. Why are you wearing that?" And I just really liked it. It's like a new athleisure kind of sweater that has zippers on the sides. And I was like, I just really want to wear it. So it's not freezing.
It,
I'm
it
not
looks
dressed for
like
the
you're
weather.
like in sub-zero temperature.
Yeah. He's like, button it all up. I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. No, it's actually beautiful here in Denver. I think it's going to be highs of like 50s or 60s. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
cold. No, that's appropriate weather. That's appropriate attire for the
Says
weather.
Matt from Texas. Okay,
Yeah, so
cool.
I walk around in a t-shirt, and like everyone else around me is in winter. It's like same temperature, 50s, 50s, 60s, and everyone else is in like in coats. Like everyone looking at
Yeah.
me like, "Aren't you
No, no,
cold?" I'm
you
like,
will
"No,
go
I'm
out
from
here. If it's
Chicago."
like 63 degrees, people will go out and wear winter coats.
Yeah, that's like that here
I
in
don't get it.
Texas.
I don't get it. No, energy is good here today. I'm having a really good morning. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of living on a high right now. So I'll take the energy. Coffee. Cheers to your coffee.
Yeah, cheers.
What
What?
do you put in your coffee?
Well, I buy it, so it's just a latte, a normal latte. So
Okay, like
milk,
regular milk.
espresso. Yeah, whole milk.
Of
Whole
course, it's
milk,
whole milk. I
three
was
shots.
going to guess that you are a whole milk person.
No, I'm not. Only so I actually this is like a weird part of my body. I can't drink whole milk when it's warm. I can only drink it when it's really hot, really cold. I get like a stomach ache when it's like warm whole milk.
Really?
I grew up with drinking skim milk my whole life. So
Yeah,
when I
I had
eventually
skim.
transitioned to whole, something changed. And the real reason I drink a little bit more whole milk or 2% is because I make smoothies for table tennis, and that requires like 2% or whole milk. And then I got on it. And then like also coffee always came with like whole milk or 2%. So like eventually I like leaned off skim milk and went back to like a little bit more fattening milk.
So I love that. I love whole milk. I love the consistency and the flavor, but I can't do it. So it totally messes up my stomach. So I am an oat milk person, and I know oat milk has a little more sugar than almond milk, but the consistency and the thickness of oat milk is what dreams are made of. So when I switched years ago to non-dairy milks, like when I found oat milk, my drink if I'm going out is an Americano with 2 large splashes of cold oat milk. That's literally like it.
Mhm.
Um, that's the dreamiest drink for me on the planet. But if I'm doing it at home, my husband makes it. My husband has been making me coffee every single day that we're together
No,
for 17 years because that's what he loves
that's
to do.
amazing.
That's his love language. And so every morning he will deliver it. And sometimes the kids catch on. And so they'll be like, "Can I deliver mom's coffee?" And they'll all kind of, it's so cute. And so then they'll bring up my coffee up the stairs. It's really cute. So he loads it. We load it with like creatine, collagen, cinnamon, oat milk, I think agave syrup. It's
Oh
like
wow. So
20
that's like
grams of
your
protein.
smoothie. That's basically your smoothie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my home coffee. My home coffee is quite complex. My
Oh,
out coffee
that's
is
good.
like simple.
That's like the mud. There's like a product called Mud, and
Oh
it's
yeah, I've heard of
very
that.
similar.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like it's no different than like taking supplements. In my opinion, I think
Yeah.
it's good because like even myself, when you take blood tests and do blood work, you feel your deficiency here. You kind of have to. After about age 30, you kind of have to start doing stuff.
You have to do stuff. I'm on the bandwagon of I'm 41. I'm a woman who lifts. I build a lot of muscle. I have a lot of muscle. And I'm like, do I need creatine? And there's all these things pro con. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have time. I don't care. I'm just going to take the creatine. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I've noticed a difference. I'm always in a great mood for the most part. There's still stuff
Mhm.
that can derail me. I have great lifts. I'm holding on to a ton of muscle. I don't know. Did that start with creatine? Did I already have it? I don't know at a cellular level what these things are doing, but I'm taking my collagen and my creatine and I don't care.
So speaking of time, and we talked about this a little bit right before we jumped on, which
Uh-huh.
is, um, and we talked about it in the last podcast, at the end of our last podcast, which
Yep.
was how do you value your time and how do you use it? How do you use it to make money or use it to hit your goals? Because I think
Right.
what we ended was if you're maybe like a consultant or you're in services, you value your time by the hour or by the project, right? There needs to be
Yep.
like some type of completion of something.
Yeah.
There's a whole debate on where you should do hourly or fixed costs, right? It's a whole different thing. But at the end of the day, you're doing a service and you get money back. And then there's other things. And we talked about like your branding, like we'll say like the amount of time you put in for your new branding initiative, and then like how you may not get a return in the expected time frame that you want, right? For example, like you could put a lot of effort into one video, but maybe to hit the numbers you're hitting, you got to put maybe more effort than what is humanly possible to put it
Right.
there, right? It's an infinite, not infinite, but an unspecified amount of time to get maybe a 15-second result. And that's very different for a consultant, right? Consultants would be like, no, I charge by the hour, I charge by the project, right? If the project is going to take even if you do fixed costs, people think like, what's going to take a month, right? Here's what the cost is. It can't go over a month. Otherwise they got to do an adjustment, right? But if you're in this land of, it's not about the time, it's about the output. It's a totally different concept and a
It's a
totally
tough
different
one for me
context.
to transition to. I will say it's really tough being in the consulting world for so long, right? And even before that, being a salaried employee, right? And then I just looked at my LinkedIn and I'm like, holy shit, I've almost owned my own business for 12 years now. Like in March, it'll be 12 years.
That's a baby. That's tiny. Trust me. This is tiny.
It's
Still the baby. It's still in the
peanuts.
infancy.
And move on. It's peanuts. So I feel like I struggled with, I feel like I'm over the hump now, but I struggled with that concept of you're now producing almost a product. Like content is a product, and you're not delivering your time for money as a service in that way. So even though it's not quite a product that you're selling, it is, because you're selling essentially products of yourself to
Right.
continue growing your audience, which is then going to enhance your platform, which is then hopefully going to bring you business leads as well as speaking engagements and opportunities, right? Like guesting on
No,
podcasts.
well, hold on. That last piece is careful. It's dangerous because a lot of times that's not true. It's usually
Which part?
the last piece where you hope to get speaking engagements because you're putting a
Oh,
linear path. And so that's another thing about time, right? A trap that we all get into is, okay, once you get on the bandwagon of, okay, the time I put into, I may not get that value back right now. Well,
yes.
the thing is, you still have in your mind of these sequences because that's what time does, right? When you think about, okay, I used to do web development in the past. So okay, it's going to take 160 hours to do this website, right? Well, you think about the sequence of it, right? You gotta get the business
You got to
requirements,
break it down.
right? And then the end. You also know this is how you get to the end. You already defined of like what you just said is, oh well, if I do these things, A, B, C, D, then you get to the end. That's also incorrect
Yeah.
because there's way more things that need to happen for you to say, let's monetize the outcome of the views, right?
Right.
So, for example, for Chipbot, we'll post videos, and the videos themselves will not get sales. But what will get sales is, well, we have a website presence, and we're always blasting keywords that we say in our videos. Okay, great. Some people land on our website when they Google, but the problem about that is, just because you sign up doesn't mean you'll convert. And you got to add Chipbot to the website. Well, once you add
Yeah.
Chipbot to the website, doesn't mean you'll convert. Then you have to do these other things. Even though I'm talking about in the sequence, there's just so many things that need to happen to convert a sale. And they're various, right? Sometimes having a pop-up that says upgrade will do it. But the other times they'll be like, you need a support person. Maybe the person who lands on the website doesn't watch a video at all. They were referred by someone who talked about our video, and then they just had a conversation, at a coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
There's many things that need to happen at play to get to these paths. So the path is never straight, never. It's always like wobbly. It goes through a wormhole and comes out a different wormhole, and it hits your destination.
Yes. So the essence of time, when you don't know when it's going to pay off, you're just doing it. What are some ways that you continue to stay in that and do the work and continue producing and putting out products, content, anything that's not going to be a direct response that yes, I'm going to work with you for an hour and I'm going to get X amount of dollars. Like how do you, when that shifts, how do you continue putting out things that don't have a direct result?
There's two paths founders often go. They follow their passion, or they follow their passion that meets the intersection of finance. And when you first start the path, you actually don't know which one is right. You kind of have to go in and discover the market. If you enjoy pivoting, and I just learned like the word pivoting is really just a tech word of saying you're going to quit. You're going to quit something different. That's kind of, I love that because of it, for like 10 years, I think like, oh, pivot's such a smart word. And it's like, no, it's just masking. Like you should just shut up, stop doing this and do this other thing instead.
You're just going to quit.
You're really quitting. You're really quitting in a lot of ways, but we don't want to say it because it's negative. They just pivot. Mm-hmm. So anyway, founders often get, that's where, you have to figure that piece out first, because if you only go in the third path, and this is where you don't even get to become a founder if you're on this third path, which is you only think about the finance, because by the time you've launched, the company's already dead in the water. So you don't even get the experience of what it takes to maybe get your first 10 customers or get your first 1,000 views. Yep. If you're only thinking about like, okay, if it's a business, you only think about the money. If it's a YouTube channel, it's only thinking about the views, right? If you only think about that, you don't even get to experience what everyone else does. So you have to start with passion for sure. That's what keeps you going. And then the hard part is, how do you monetize it? If you try to think about monetizing first, doesn't work. If you try to blend it first, but monetizing is like 60 and then passion's 40, it's tough because you don't know. Sometimes you need to put 100% passion in the first 12 months before you realize how to balance the monetization piece. Yeah. So you kind of have to. So this was a long way. It has to be hard,
but it also has to be tactical.
Yeah, this is maybe going a long way around it. So maybe to summarize, you have to have passion, and you have to be able to step back and say, am I on a path that can be monetized or not, every so often. And once you're on that path, then you can switch gears a little bit. You can be like, okay, the path is a little too passionate, but I can see the intersection of some fine, a little bit, maybe like $1, right? It really starts with that. Like, how do you make your first dollar? And once you hit that crossroad, you go to the next crossroad, you can go to the next crossroad. And then you figure things out. Some people, they hit the ultimate, they love exactly what they do, and they're making really good money to do it, or they're on the path of making really good money to do it. And it's a clear path, right? It's like open highway. Some folks are beyond it. They made so much money, are now no longer passionate about the business, right? Or don't want to continue growing it, right?
It served its purpose, right? And you need to understand when it's time to pivot and move on.
Well, passions change. People change, right? Maybe
Matt. Now the rest of this episode, I'm going to try and use pivot as much as possible.
But yeah, like that's how like the time. That's how you get past it. And I think it's a really hard concept to pass, because you have bills. Like, let's just be real. You have bills to pay. Mm-hmm. Everyone's got debt. They got bills. It's not just the bills in the moment, but if you have debt, you're also thinking about how to clear that too. That cloud never goes away. Right. And if you also run a business also has debt often, or shareholders they got to hit. Like there's some type of external stress too. Yeah. That is like, it's not really an issue at the end of the month, but it's an issue is a general big picture thing. So you have these two real world pressures on you. How do you address those real world pressures? Like, I'm going to do my passion project, right? How? You can't. I
feel like I stopped generating sales for Fix Inform in August, and I've just been working on my passion project, which is my personal brand. We're trying to get that up and running and monetizing that. It's like a whole new product. And it's been interesting to say, oh no, you still have to be working the pipeline. What are your thoughts on service businesses doing something to productize the service to also have a product? So a course, a one pager, a webinar, something that they sell to not just exchange time for money.
It's supplementary, right? If you're a service-based business, you're more likely going to continue doing service-based work. I'll give you a really good example, because in the early days of ChipBot, I definitely did this. Okay. I launched a company, right? We're still struggling to get sales, especially the first 2 years. I was still doing consulting work, and sometimes consulting work through Chipbot also was a thing too.
Okay.
I wouldn't say no, and I charge a boatload of money because prior in my earlier years, I was a consultant full time, and that never left me as a service provider for a bit. So even when times were tough, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that service too. Like, who cares what the hours are? Just like you just say yes and you just do it.
Yeah.
So until you get past the hump of like, I never want to do a service thing again, your natural tendency will always be like, let me accept it. Because if someone says, here's $1 million, just do this part time, a lot of people are going to say yes. The only reason you would say no is if you know that part time is actually going to hinder the potential growth of what you're really working on, and it exceeds 1 million. Right? And you got to be, that's a tough swallow. I think a lot of people just take the cash and be like, well, if I get that, I have more time later down the road. But keep in mind that trap just never ends. You do that project really well, you get a referral, you get another $1 million for part time. How do you say no? And then you're already 60 by the time you're done, got a ton of money, but you never actually did the product thing. Because it's so easy to do services, in my opinion. If you're good at what you do, it's really easy to do services, especially if you're a service oriented person. So that's kind of my answer. You just continue picking up services, even though you might not be in that mode. If a service comes up, you're just going to agree to it.
Yeah. Tell me about when you did consulting to grow Chipbot. Like, what kind of consulting would people ask you to do with Chipbot?
Well, prior to Chipbot, I did a bunch of startups in my 20s too. So like, it's not a straight path, but various times in my 20s, I did consulting part-time or full-time, depending on the year. And that gave me a lot of credibility, especially in Chicago. It was for an enterprise product. The average contract, not me, but like the overall deal sizes that involve part of my services were often in, $1 to $2 million per contract. And usually I get a big portion of that. And what happened was I got really good at it. And you can't find someone leading the tech space to take over those contracts very easily. So when I leave, there's a void. People fill it in with someone else. They suck. 2 years later, they remember that project sucked. They have another opportunity just like this. They ping me.
I see.
Right?
So
I
is
haven't
that brand
advertised my
reputation?
services since 2015.
Yeah.
And that even still happens today, actually. Just not as much because a lot of the contacts that refer me are now out of the space now. But for like a really long time, it was like every quarter, Matt, are you free? Are you available? Yeah, they tell me the rate up front because they know I won't even answer the call. I don't want to negotiate anything. Like, because I won't even answer the call. I'll be like, just whatever. Like, I'm not free, right? So people eventually just started switching the rate. And then as I realized I'm not taking any offer, and this is a very important note, once you start refusing, your product is often ready to go to the moon because you're confident that you're rejecting things that, if you take time off, you're stopping the gas on this other thing, putting gas on the other, right? Once you get to that weird point in this, then you no longer become service oriented.
Yeah.
You become product oriented. Then you become customer oriented. A lot of folks that I talk to who are in the services don't understand the concept of the customer is everyone, is everything. Because I had the same conversation with another, he's a C-level guy at a very large consulting firm. And he was saying the other day, which is, hey, I'm tired of talking to this client. I want to do other things. This client keeps bugging me. And I was like in his shoes, like, isn't that client supporting at least like a team of employees? Like at least?
Yeah.
And isn't it exciting for you to just be able to even have the opportunity and then have it every single minute? Yeah. So what if you have 20 of those? Who cares? Every single one's important. Yeah. If you're not able to answer the call 24/7, 365 for them, then hire a team that does.
Right.
Right. And he was like, well, what they're asking is primitive, and it's like it's below what I know. Someone else can do it, and it's like, and he already sold it. He already did what he needed to do, right? Which is understandable. He's so knowledgeable. The questions the client's asking are so trivial. He in his head, he's like, I want to work on harder problems now. Like we already got the sale.
I resonate with that deeply.
Yeah. And I told him, if you're customer oriented, there is no such thing as a customer's below you at any point in time, even if they are asking the literal dumbest questions you can possibly ask. At the end of the day, they chose you. They chose your brand. They chose you personally, because you're probably the one who closed it, and they want you to be the point of contact.
Yeah.
If you're in a product
but at
company,
some point to scale, you can't always be the point.
That's not true. No, everyone. See, this is where, if you're in a product company, everyone is equally important. In services, often whoever has the biggest dollar amount is equally important, because that same person who's maybe dragging their feet with answering the question, I don't think he would do that if that was the biggest client in his portfolio.
True.
Because that biggest client portfolio, that client leaves, it's not only maybe a negative double-digit number in their profit or just revenue margin or revenue in general, but it could also mean the downscale effect of, like, if they leave, other people leave, right? Mm-hmm. There's a fear factor.
Yeah.
So
you're removing the hierarchy that money creates.
Yes.
And you're saying every person is equal and every person is serviced the same way.
Yes.
And every person matters, which is a great model. And it's also, in my opinion, working out of gratitude. You are thankful that they chose you. They're paying you. They're employing your team. They're keeping you doing the work that you want to do, which is a great way to look at it.
But true. But I think that's more of the empathetic way. There's a more economic way to look at it, is if you don't do that, your competitor will.
Right.
Right. It actually comes more down to survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Because if you start doing favoritism in your product, you know what happens? You start building customizations. And then what I mentioned about traps earlier. Then what happens is, now you're a consultant. You're a part-time consultant because you're doing customizations for some customers that you deem to be higher level.
Yeah.
And you go in this little trap of, like, we have these 10 customers that pay us a lot of money, and they're customizations, but they're a pain in the ass to maintain.
Yeah. And guess what? When they talk about you to their friends and their other business partners, that they love Chipbot because they customize shit that they ask you to do, but their other friend then signs up with you and they're not a high price tag, and then you don't customize shit for them.
It's a bad experience.
It's a bad experience. So you have to make sure
you heard from your buddy, you do customizations. Now you have to do customizations for them too.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So it's such a trap. And also that goes to show with money, if you discount, this is a good one too. If you do like a friends and family discount on a service, and then that person tells someone else about your service and they say, well, what do you pay? And they say, this. And then you go to them and charge your normal price. Then that looks like a bad experience. There's a discrepancy. I actually had an amazing conversation last year about this that changed my perspective on all of it, because I was doing like a 10% like friends and family discount if someone would work with me. And now I just kind of do like a referral. So if you refer someone to me and you'd like to collect a referral fee, I'm happy to do that, or I'll pass it on to your client because you were referred in. But I'm almost thinking of stopping doing that too, because when there is discrepancy in the price, does that mean that the service that they're going to get is different? And we are essentially validating what you just said we shouldn't do. If the hierarchy is flat with money and it doesn't matter who's paying what, the service should be equal and should be the same.
Well, hold on. I think services are different though. You go on the other side of the spectrum. Do maximum discrepancy. When you do maximum discrepancy, which means you're probably charging a very high rate initially, and you just have random discounts. Just the most random fees and the most random discounts, right? And it's just really confusing. Well, when you do negotiations, you'd be like, let's just cross all that out. But then other people, you cross some of them out. And other people, you cross nothing out. And it's just complete random. And then you can't talk about it because it's too confusing.
That goes against the brand of my agency of transparency.
But this is important to know, because a lot of firms, this is actually baked in.
Yeah.
They got a fee for everything. And that's
This
where,
is car sales. This is what this is car sales.
well, this is enterprise sales. I wouldn't
Yeah,
say
you have this
necessarily
fee and that fee.
car sales is you have an individual that needs to figure this out. Enterprise sales, you got teams that can look at and do due diligence. The thing is, when they look at these fees and they look at extra costs, they're also doing they're talking shop. They're talking out there out in the outside too, and they're getting quotes from other folks as well.
Yeah.
And as they do it, everyone's confusing. So if you think about it, it's a tactic. Those who are least confusing, if you're in a market and your competitors are confusing, the ones that are least confusing, they're the easiest to decide.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're either going to say, I want to work with them because they're simple, or I don't want to work with them because they don't look complicated. The other ones take more time to figure out. And the more time it takes to figure out, the more touch points the sales staff can hit on you. The more touch points you have, the more relationship you can build on.
Ooh, this is really fascinating. So my wheels are spinning. So using complicated pricing structures as a tactic.
I would say it's a tactic by, well, okay, I definitely know some CEOs that do it as a tactic.
Mm-hmm.
It's less intentional. And what happens is you start out simple and just tack on because you see other folks do it.
Yep.
And then that's what happened. That's what happened. You realize you actually talk to more folks as you tack on more things. That's what naturally happens. If you think about a consulting service company that goes through a 10-year cycle, they start out simple and they come out with becoming an octopus. There's tentacles everywhere. You have no idea what's going on. That doesn't happen because they're what the CEO decided that's why they want to be. It's just the market shaped them into that entity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the reason why they shaped them the entity, because the CEO is driven by revenue. Mm-hmm. The CEO is driven like, we need growth. So you start looking at why did a competitor win this deal? You start analyzing that. You start taking things that they did. You start asking customers that you won, why did you leave the previous company? You start understanding what wins, what makes a winning company, what makes a losing company from a sales perspective. And that bakes in your process. I don't believe it's intentionally to say, let's have this tactic of doing a bunch of fees. I think it's actually a byproduct of how you want to just grow aggressively. Because if you think about sales numbers, of course, add a fee. If your competitors are doing it, add a fee, make it 20% less than them. Yeah. Right. And then also make a negotiation tactic. You want to remove this fee? Well, here's where we can do, it's another bargaining chip. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's really tactic driven. I just think it's just how the nature of growth. But you can see, and this is like a multifaceted thing because we're also talking about time going forward. Right. Is if you're a small firm and you're simple, it already conveys as simple. Oh, we've seen this before. Whether we've been like that before in our past, or we've just seen other bids like that compared to others, and you can see the maturity of the company. Right. Yeah. I'll give you an example. Like a lot of folks look at chip buys like, how do you get by with $9 and $19 a month pricing? In the beginning, people thought we were immature because it's like, well, you have to undercharge to beat the market. We just kept the same pricing, just kept growing anyway. And now people come like, how do they even do this? Yeah. But in the beginning, we got a lot of that. In the beginning, we got like, oh, I see. You guys are just charging cheap just to get in the market. Because that's what it looks like from a services end too. It's like you always discount sales, whatever, undercharge the competition to get in. That's how the consulting negotiations work. Requests for proposals and the bids also work too. Right. And you're willing to discount because you say, oh, well, if you saw them do it for 5,000, we'll do it for 4,000. Actually, and that's another thing too. Because you're the big ones that have all these crazy fees or discounting, and you look at you, it's simple. Oh, you're not offering any discount, but they're offering discounts. And then you have to figure out, this is where the maturity comes, this is where the growth thing comes in, because you got it. That's what I was thinking. If I just added a fee and I know I have to negotiate a discount, all right, it negates the fee, right? And it just goes back to where the number where you want to go is true. Yep. So I've really leaned into this whole pricing model recently of not doing a friends and family discount, not doing any discounting, because the pricing is so sound to not only cover the experience and the service that we're going to give you, and also the time and attention in your project, but all of the tools and software and people that I know I need
to make your project run smoothly so that we're not a pain in the ass, because a lot of these brand projects can become a pain in the ass. And for me, I like to use the maturity on that side of the coin that says we don't discount because we are so sound in our pricing model. And also, many agencies have margins that are astronomically high. And in the years that I've been doing it and talking with and meeting other agency CEOs, learning their pricing structures and why they do it, there's a lot of choices in there that I wouldn't call them unethical people. There's a lot of choices in those pricing models that I don't agree with. And I don't know all the events that took place to lead them to that. But for me, it's not for me. I've learned to say a lot of times, that's not for me. And so as a business owner, I am so ethical that I've kept my margins too tight. And I've learned, okay, I need to increase my margins to be able to cover all the software tools, people, operations, to make this thing actually an incredible brand experience. And then not back down on that and not say, oh, I've got room in the margin, I'll go ahead and take 10% off to win the job. That just feels cheap. It cheapens what you spent all of this time in the sales process building up. So for me, it was like an oxymoron, and I started seeing that. And I was discounting a lot to win work. And also the market's really tough. And also Denver is, I think it's one of the top 10 highest cost of living inflation cities in the country. It's just so expensive that many people here are really holding on to money, and it's really, really expensive to live here.
Well, I think you have a paradox though, right? So if you're not willing to bend, the company that does will, because it's money's tough though.
Then
Right?
let them. That's where I've resolved is I don't want that business. If that business needs us to discount to win the work, then I don't want to work with them. So that's where I've come to in the maturity of my trajectory of being a boss is, if you need a discount for us to look more appealing to you, to work with you, then I don't want to work with you. And so I'll let them walk. And so the more I've held and the more I've said, I'm so sound in my pricing that we're not upcharging you up the ass. We're very ethically priced, and I pay my people well for what I need them to do. And I also have the solid margins that make me feel like we're a solid financial company too, which is something I've been working on this year, is healing my financial acumen and how I'm running the business that way. I feel like when you have someone in front of you that says, oh, well, I have this proposal and they were going to do it for 1,000 less than you guys, they say, great, you're welcome to go work with them. That move alone, just sitting and kindly saying, great, I'm glad that they did that for you. If that is what you need, go for it. I wish you the best. Thank you for your time. It's been lovely getting to know you. Actually, I win more business doing that now because I am sound in my pricing.
Right.
And if I discount it every which way, to me and the people on my team, if it's not where it needs to be because we've priced our proposals so well, we actually do deliver less than experience, or they become a little bit of a pain in the ass somewhere along the journey. And I don't ever want.
See, that makes a lot more sense. I think if anything, that's the leading that's the leading cause, not necessarily that you refuse a discount, is that you refuse to do lower than subpar quality.
Right.
Right. Because
I have to think of the emotions behind pricing and the sales transaction. And if someone wears you down enough to get a price, there's a form of resentment there because it was exhausting.
So now I see your angle. So now you go to a business saying, hey, we don't offer discounts, but mainly because we know the dollar amount it takes to get this level of quality. And that's the only, and we just can't negotiate on having lower quality, because if we deliver something that we're not 100% proud of to you, and you're referring people, now you're referring work that is a little bit less than our typical quality. We don't want to finish the project with only at 90% and it just looks 100%. Right. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I think I can.
For us, I think the most important thing in all of our transactions moving forward, which this is all a part of the new company vision rolling into next year, is the quality of our time together. So once I flipped as just a human, that time is more valuable to me than money. I say the time that we spend together in work and that experience is much more important to me than $1,000 or whatever money.
So what you just described is actually where you are 100% service driven, because If time is 100% on you, then you can never disassociate time from money.
Right.
Product companies or just folks that are more asynchronous on that, you think of 100% an outcome.
Yeah.
At the cost of time and money. You don't know how much time, it's infinite time, infinite money. You focus on outcome only.
Yeah.
Right? That's the key fundamental difference, I think, just in general of those two concepts.
When you say outcome, what do you mean?
Like, okay, for example, I want ChipBot to be on, we're not on 1 million sites. My goal is to get 1 million sites.
Okay.
Right? 1 million sites would be like, I think 1 trillion a month in traffic or something like that.
How close are you to 1 million sites?
Not even close. I mean, we're on like a little bit less than 10,000 sites right now.
Okay.
But but a lot of those sites are high traffic, so it's kind of cool to see all the numbers.
Yeah.
I will sacrifice whatever it takes to get there. And I don't know how long. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know how much money it'll take.
Okay.
Right?
So that's time, money, infinite, but your goal of 1 million sites is all your focus
and
on.
I can't say I'm gonna do it in 5 years. That makes no sense. I can't control that.
You don't know. You're right.
Right?
That's fair.
So how do you make a service out of that then?
You don't.
You don't. There we go. So if you that's the chasm between how to, going from
is
service
it chasm
to product.
or chasm, Matt?
Chasm. It's chasm. I say chasm because that's literally how it's spelled. But
chasm. I know it's okay. Go on.
No,
chasm.
You're right. Chasm. So anyway, so you have this like huge. That's the only way you cross it is you have to disassociate everything, money, everything. And you have to go into outcomes only. Like if you figure out where you vision, it's like very similar to table tennis and you play a tournament, you have to vision you holding the medal that you won something, right? It's very similar to a product. You have to vision of, you're going to have thousands of, all these websites for Chip, all these websites, everyone's interacting with AI. You got all these videos. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Around like every type of website, you can pick a brand. We're there, right? That's vision. You can't put a service to that. You can't say,
no.
You can't even hire Deloitte to do that.
No, you can't. This is really fun because this is totally getting me in the mindset for what I'm doing on my personal brand. I feel like that's actually much more, it's weird. That's much more product.
Yes. Well, you're right in the beginning. That's why I say don't go linear, because linear doesn't, the second you try to make it linear, you're going to eventually turn into a service.
Yeah, I've been treating it more like I'm this consultant in this public speaking space and I'm doing all this. It's like, no, like I am this product now of content consumption and building a following and an awareness around the concept of I'm the creator of the movement, the Share Your Fear movement, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of how we're positioning it, which makes total sense in my head. So if it's a movement, it is literally a product that someone is going to consume, and there's no time and there's no money. It's just you put it out there. I have my own goals of, like, you have 1 million sites. I have my own goals of follower count, community, all the different places I'm showing up with this movement, with all the pillars and content pillars of this movement. It's fascinating. This is actually like, it's just really transitioning my mindset of essentially, I didn't realize I was shifting into the product space, which is a really cool way to think about it, versus this consulting service side. And the speaking is going to be in both. It's going to be in the consulting service side as Anne, with all my years in business. Of course, I'm going to be walking businesses through my brand therapy, my work as a speaker, and then the concepts of the Share Your Fear movement in work. And that's going to be a transaction time for money. I'm going to come. I'm going to facilitate.
That's different. That's actually a byproduct of the whole thing. Right.
But like the whole thing that we're building, the personal brand, the platform, the movement, that itself is actually not time for money. That's very much that product.
Let me add to that. So like ChipBot's KPIs, it's never revenue. It's always install rate.
I love that. And yeah, like, what are the KPIs? The KPIs over here are revenue. How many projects with revenue are we doing in companies, right? In the business. But then over here, the KPIs are literally, I wrote them all down actually in my notebook, and not one of those was revenue. And I loved that. It was, this is the follower base. This is the amount of interviews I want to be doing on other people's podcasts and morning shows and talk shows and stuff.
Yeah, revenue should follow. Like that's the
It should
strategic
follow.
part, right? Revenue should, if you're doing it with intent, revenue should follow. Now, if you're just doing it as
Absolutely.
pure passion, there's definitely revenue will not follow.
Right.
Revenue could be there, but you'll never. This is funny.
I get paid in smiles.
I know folks that get like are like really large on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, but they have no idea how to monetize. If I was in their shoes, I could I could monetize the crap out of it. They're so close to monetization, but their mind is so far away. So that happens too. You're just too passionate. You never hit it's like the intersection of passion. You get really close to the intersection and you just like you're just parallel of it. You just become parallel. You never actually can cross it. There's those folks too, right? So it goes, I think you do have to remove money from the equation, but you have to be going towards the direction of it. You just be like, I know if I just keep going that direction, it'll eventually cross.
Yeah.
There's a way you can be over passionate too. So
but in the meantime, you have to have something that is bringing in money.
Well, even beyond, even after you cross revenue, you still have to be passion driven, because once you become revenue driven, what happens? That hockey stick growth just flat lines.
Yeah, it does.
And then you sell and then you sell whatever it is, or you move on, one of the two, because the excitement's gone, the magic is gone. So you have to actually be passionate throughout the whole journey until you don't want to do the journey anymore. I would say people don't reach their destination.
I was just going to say, you have to be in tune with when that passion starts to level off and you
move on.
And you can't force it anymore. You say, what happened to that passion? Well, that journey might not be for you anymore, or you've got.
And I think that's okay. I think it's like 100% okay. Like a lot of folks are like, oh no, you should keep up the passion. No, if your motivation has changed, you should.
You have to
kind of listen to your heart, listen to your gut.
Pivot.
Yeah.
You pivot.
You gotta pivot, which is AKA quit.
Intuitively pivoting. That's like
this is all like it's literally quit this, do something else. It's really really what it is, and what people don't want to hear that.
And often I feel like that's buried in burnout. When you are burnout by something,
that's
no passion that can exist with burnout. So you stop and say, not only do I not have passion, I'm fucking done. I've roasted myself. So that's the call for a massive pivot,
which is fine. I think that's like part of the cycle. A lot of people don't want to be there, but you gotta go. You
have to. It is your trigger to literally pivot. It's your trigger to literally.
I like that. I don't think a lot of folks know what the trigger is when to pivot. I think that's one of them for sure. Was one of them. I mean, the time thing, I think, and one last point, I also think it's the reverse as well. There's people who are only product, but want to get into service nature.
Yes.
Right. It's a reverse. I think for me, I've always thought about consulting the product, but there's folks that, they did drop shipping early. They made $1 million, but like, hey, I want to make an agency now. They don't know how to have a white glove service. They only know how to treat everyone equal. But
if you are that and you're listening and you want to incorporate whatever your cool tool or product or service, whatever your product is into a service, talk to me, because I'm definitely looking on the horizon for more acquisition for growth. So it depends on what cool shit you're doing. But if you have a cool product and you're like, I really want to put white glove service around it. I've got the white glove service nailed, but I'm looking for some cool products.
The white glove part is, that's a hard thing to solve. So that was one of the reasons why I did, Chippa has a white label program, because
I love that.
I know how to do white glove, but I don't want to do it. That's not for me. It's not for me. So I let other folks who love doing the white glove part.
I love doing the white glove part.
But there's product people who never did consulting in the past ever in their career.
Yeah.
They were the ones who did the lemonade stand, and then they just built the revenue and money over and over. And then they were like, how do I get in this agency space? Right. And it's interesting, or that's a firm space. And that's where you have those folks that, they don't know how to, I mentioned the C-level guy earlier. They don't know how to just go on a call and like, do a great service for them, and, you do whatever it takes to hit the deadline, whatever, right? A lot of product companies, you're like, well, it's on a roadmap. It's not a deadline, it's on a roadmap. Mm-hmm. And ShipBot does that too, because that's the only way you can manage thousands of customers. But when you're working with, tens or hundreds of very, high paying clients, you have to massage it a lot continuously. It's relationships, it's just client relationships.
You got it.
That's hard to do. I did that in the past.
It's easy for me to do. I love it. It's my bread and butter.
No, I think that's where I grew out of consulting is I just didn't want, I wanted to spend my time in something that, again, was more driven on the outcome and less on the relationship. The relationship is
I would
important.
prefer to spend my time solely on the relationship and just connecting and talking with people and then forget about the money. So
yeah, I think you're much better suited to be a speaker for sure.
yeah, I'm like, if I could do everything for free, I would.
Yeah. Oh,
honestly.
me too. No, me too.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my, everything I do now is just so ingrained in the revenue piece. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
I think speaking alone, right? There's like nonprofits. There's even speaking for government stuff. So where you're just serving the people. So I think that goes much longer.
I would be a fucking amazing government employee. I am here to serve the people.
So you'd be the spokeswoman. So in 2028, you're going to be this, what is it? The press secretary? Is that what it is?
No, because they're all speaking lies. All they do is just speak the jargon and the Kool-Aid of whatever is served to them.
That's true. Whoever's elected, they're really just a talking head for them.
I'm not great in government because I'm a rebel and I don't give a shit. And I think all of the authority for the most part is scammed and bought, and it's a power struggle with money. So not like I'm completely a rebel, but in that regard, I would not be a great public servant.
No, me neither. Actually, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are not a lot of entrepreneurs to be founders, people who found companies.
Yeah,
I think are very fair people.
Agreed.
Right.
Because we had a passion, we had the drive, and then we had the audacity.
You have the grit. You have the grit to go through everything. A lot of folks are, I think, I wouldn't say everyone, but we're definitely rule breakers for the majority. Oh, yeah. But it doesn't mean we're unfair.
You cannot be an entrepreneur, a successful one, and follow all of the rules. You have to break rules.
It's just a paradox because to be fair, it means must be rules that govern what is fair too, though. See what I mean? It's almost like it's more like common sense and not what's in the books.
You got it. And it's funny because a lot of laws and rules and programming, it doesn't use common sense. So
yeah, common sense is I'm trying to hire for common sense. This is one of the hardest things to hire for.
Same. Me too.
I think it's a forever. Every business owner
work for each other.
Let's
just fuck everything and just go partner and work for each other.
I don't know. We're in different space. I'm in product. You're in service. So
it wouldn't work.
Two different.
We would drive each other nuts.
You would this podcast 10 years ago for me for sure. Yeah. Yeah. All right. This was great, Anne.
This was great. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. See you later.